Y'all, an intervention can only work when someone, one, recognizes the problem, and two, is willing to change. And unfortunately, I don't think Sonja is open to either at this point. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into it. All right, y'all, so launching off with the Bershan and Sonja altercation. In my opinion, they are both culpable, but the responsibilities are slightly different. So if you all will recall, at the point in time where the altercation occurred, the fight was pretty much on the downswing. It was going down. It seemed almost like they were about to make up. The problem is that Bershan lost her mind for a second and said the words drunk out of her mouth, right? Now, I'm going to go up for Bershan in this instance because I do not believe that it was said with malice, right? I think it was almost one of those situations where your mouth speaks faster than your brain communicates, right? So she had the thought in her mind. Unfortunately, it transferred from her brain to her throat and out her teeth, right? It almost seemed like one of those situations where she didn't mean to say it, and it was an interior comment that unfortunately made its way to the outside. The problem is that there were also two levels of alcoholic consumption at that point. Bershan was pretty much on the downswing of hers, where she was pretty much sober, and Sonja was still in the throes of hers, which meant that she probably couldn't process the situation as calmly as she could if alcohol wasn't involved, right? So although I do feel that they're both culpable, to me, Bershan to a lesser extent, even though I know that drunk is sort of a trigger word for Sonja. The problem is that Sonja's response to Bershan's comment was disproportionate to the intent that I felt Bershan's comment held, right? So when you have a disproportionate response where something is just taken severely out of, the realm of normal behavior, there's some other stuff going on there. And as we come to find out later on in the episode, Sonja is dealing with a lot internally, a lot that she doesn't really vocalize. And perhaps part of the reason why she acts the way she does in social situations is because there's things that she hasn't communicated or things that she hasn't dealt with. So listen, unfortunately, based on where the situation was, you can't really get in someone's face and start pointing and cussing and think that nothing is going to happen. The altercation between Bershan and Sonja hit its logical conclusion. When you're cussing in someone's face, pointing fingers and doing this and there's nowhere for the situation to go but down. So unfortunately, the minute that comment came out of Bershan's mouth and Sonja responded in kind with her disproportionate response, the altercation was bound to happen. Now, I think it went over the top because Sonja is really losing it. And so just from the light shoving match, I'm so glad that Leah was there to break it up, as well as the producers who, or the crew who just, swooped in and tried to break them apart. But just the level of being out of control is insane, because when you're breaking property and trashing someone else's place because you're not in control of your own faculties, I think that that's the point where, you have to really take a step back and say, am I the problem? And so I'm glad that the ladies decided to later on in the episode, sit Sonja down for a real good heart to heart and try to get to the root of the issue and try to make her understand. So moving on to, was the fight between Sonja and Bershan a black-white issue or just a natural response? I'm not going to say it was a black-white issue. I think, to me, the fight was a universal issue. As I said, you cannot get in someone's face and point and cuss and think that it's not going anywhere. I think Bershan said it best when she said, her father told you if you get in someone's face, it's only going to escalate from there. And I think that's exactly what we saw. I think it was a natural response to the stimuli that was happening at the moment. And unfortunately, when alcohol is involved and people are not necessarily in control of their emotions and their faculties, bad things can happen. So I'm just glad that people were there to break it up, because it could have gotten a lot worse, because Sonja is She's emboldened by the alcohol, which sort of makes her think that she can take on people that I don't think that she had a chance on. So drop down in the comments, y'all, and let me know if you think Sonja would have had Bershan in that altercation or Bershan would have leveled Sonja. I'm on team Bershan. I don't promote violence, but if y'all are going to fight on the damn screen, we going to take bets on it, and that's just how that is. Moving on to Bershan apologized to the group. Now, I want to commend Bershan because my whole reasoning for when someone is giving an apology is I sort of go with three different factors. Is it clear, concise, and to the point? And to me, Bershan was clear, concise, and to the point in terms of why she operated the way that she did. I thought the tears were a little bit much, but you know, I have a weird relationship when people start crying because I have like this nervous tick that if someone is crying and I don't really know them, I start smiling and laughing. I can't help it, okay? I am trying to work on it, and perhaps I need to go back to therapy or, you know, go to therapy and approach this with my damn therapist. But back to Bershan. She was clear, concise, and to the point, and I really liked that she not only apologized to the group, but she apologized to Sonja individually, which to me let me know that, you know, there's a higher consciousness there, and then she was able to recognize that not only did she offend the group, but she offended Sonja individually, right? So on the other side of that, Sonja only apologizes to Bershan. So like I just said, with a level of consciousness, I don't think that Sonja has that level of awareness, and I feel like that's sort of the genesis of the problem, right? Sonja only apologized for her role with Bershan, but she didn't really apologize to the group for once again putting them in a situation where they were pretty much thinking that she had lost her mind, wasn't in control of her faculties, and the alcohol had pretty much taken over. So just another sort of nail in the coffin of Sonja not being aware to how her behavior affects her friends. And also, if you think about it, it's sort of a sense of where, you know, my friends are used to this behavior. I do this all the time. I don't need to apologize to them. You know, they take what I give them. But I'm going to apologize to Bershan because she's apologizing to me. And I recognize that that's a relationship that I still think that, you know, there's some good there and I want to build. So we'll see what happens with that situation. So Ramona, LuAnn, and Leah decide to do a Sonja intervention. And it's largely unsuccessful. Honestly, y'all, I think that the intervention with Sonja, it really only had a 50% chance of success. And if you think about it, most interventions only have a 50% chance of success. If someone is not willing to recognize the problem and also they're not willing to change, there's not really much that you can do. But I think that where the intervention actually had a bit of success is that it puts the person on notice that their behavior is not warranted, number one, and not going to be accepted going forward, number two. So I think it succeeded in that respect, even though it might have largely failed on the larger scale. So the reasons why I think that it failed is because Sonja did three things in that situation. She reasoned, she deflected, and she became very, very animated, right? And so when I say that she reasoned, the minute that they told her that she had a problem, and I want to commend Leah for the way that she came at Sonja, because she was clear, concise, and to the point, right? And she put her in a state of ease, because as you saw later on in the episode, when Sonja was talking to Ramona and LuAnn, she was calling them judgy, whereas when she was talking to Leah, she was saying, you know, I know you're coming from a good place, etc. So back to the reasoning. So she reasons, deflects, and gets animated. So the minute they come to her, Sonja is saying, you know, well, I don't drink all the time. I only drink when I'm with y'all. When I'm at home, there's no alcohol in the townhouse and stuff. That's reasoning, okay? That's trying to create some sort of justification for your behavior, right? After she reasons, she deflects, where it's like, you know, well, I wouldn't have been in that situation if it wasn't for Bershan, and I would do it again if, you know, that situation came about. And, you know, LuAnn, why are you even saying anything? Because you're the one with the actual problem. It's all deflecting. When you get into a position where you feel defensive and where you feel like you have to defend yourself, you know, you start lashing out at other people. And so do I think that, you know, Bershan was a contributing factor to, you know, Sonja's behavior? To a certain extent, yes. But I also feel that Sonja's drinking is largely to blame for the situation that she ends up in. And then the third reason in terms of Sonja's intervention is that she just becomes very animated, right? And this sort of speaks to the defensive nature of it. because it's almost like you want to give the same energy that you're perceiving, even though the energy that's being directed towards you is in a calm, a light, a caring nature. But in order to, I guess, come against it with force, you get very animated, you get very big, you get very loud. And I just felt it was all sort of just defense mechanisms to try to get the intervention to end sooner, and to let the ladies know that, I recognize what you're doing, but I'm not at the point where I'm willing to change right now. So like I said, I hope Sonja gets some help, but I think that the intervention may have been largely unsuccessful in terms of its intended goal, but in terms of putting Sonja on notice, I think that it was successful. So moving forward, the ladies sit down for a seance, and we have to decide whether it's pageantry or real. Listen, I used to look at seances and mediums in a sort of weird way in terms of, I don't know if they're actually real. This seems like a bit of acting and stuff. But I had to take a step back and think that, in a world where people are blessed with talents and gifts, whether they be musical, whether they be athletic, and whether they be intellectual, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that someone lives at a higher vibration or a higher consciousness in terms of psychic energy or ability to perceive and innately know things, right? So I think that for every real prophet or real medium, there's an element of fake mediums out there, though, because you can't really have the real without the fake. And that sort of gets into the territory of, con men, where the basis there is confidence man, where you're trying to gain someone's confidence through your actions or your words, and try to get them to believe something, or, give up something, or hell, swindle them out of something, if we're going to be completely honest with it. So in my opinion, if we're just talking about real prophets and fake prophets, I think that man medium was a false prophet. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying that he was a charlatan and that he was completely fake, but I do align with LuAnn, where she was just like, I don't think he ate his Wheaties this morning. So perhaps he was a baby prophet, or like I like to call him, an MIT baby. He was a medium in training, and he just needed a little bit more help and a little bit more guidance. And he should probably sit at the foot of that damn lady medium, because she was on it. So just in terms of the woman medium, I did look at her a little bit sideways after the man medium, because the man medium, when he looked at Bershan and set out his face, throat, and teeth, pretty much he likened her to a billy goat that needed to show the world what she could do. I was pretty much through at that point, right? And I said, this is going to be some mess. But when she got on, I did feel that her readings of Leah and Ebony were a bit surface level, and they sort of spoke to things that you could probably find out from like a light Google or background search, or perhaps, the producers put a bug in her ear or something like that. But where I really identified with the lady medium is when she hit her stride with Sonja's father and Ramona's brother. I think that her readings on those two people were pretty nuanced, pretty layered, and it didn't really lend itself to things that you could find readily, because they really didn't talk about it publicly, as far as I know. Y'all drop down in the comments if you knew something previously about Ramona's brother and Sonja's father. But I really feel that it speaks to the issue in terms of, if we don't heal the traumas of our past, we're set to recreate those situations in our present, right? And so I think it was great learning about Sonja's father and his link to drinking, because though I don't think that it explains fully why Sonja approaches situations, the way that she does, I think that, it's a good genesis. It's a good beginning to understand that, there's a DNA implication here, right? Being more susceptible to the effects of alcohol is in your DNA. It's something that's innately in you, right? So you have to pretty much defend against it if that's not something that you want to create or perpetuate in your adult life. So I've always said this about Sonja, and I've said this in prior videos, but to me, the drinking of the alcohol and the becoming animated and not being in control of your faculties, it's more a symptom and not the cause, right? So I'm not saying that her father is the be all and end all of Sonja's issues, but I do believe that he is the genesis of them, and all of the issues branch off from there. So I'm glad that Sonja got some clarity here. She's also working with a healer, as well as Hell, that damn woman medium was a little bit shady when she said, I think you need a PhD therapist, you know, someone with some credentials behind their name so they can help you. But she was completely right. Sometimes you really do need a professional. And, you know, Sonja's random crystal healers and random mediums that you speak to, I don't think can help her with the central issue of understanding, you know, how the trauma of her father and that relationship really perpetuates itself into her current life and her current situations. So I hope Sonja gets some help with that. And I really go up for that woman medium because I think she really hit her stride with Sonja, with her father, and also Ramona's brother. Because honestly, y'all, I kind of teared up a little bit when Ramona was talking about her brother, and you could just sense the pain and the sense of that she couldn't help him, and she wanted to for so long. You know, sometimes in life we want to help people so bad, but you get to a point where you realize that your actions seem to be in vain, and until the person wants help, you can't help them. And unfortunately, you know, Ramona didn't get the chance to help her brother in the way that she wanted to. And the problem is that death is so permanent. And when death is so permanent, it's really hard to get resolved. It's really hard to find a resolution because you're sort of working with yourself and trying to resolve things within yourself, because you don't have the benefit of being able to reach out to that person anymore. So all prayers and healing energy to Ramona, Sonja, Leah, and Ebony, because it seems like they really made some breakthroughs and strides this episode with the aid of the medium. Anywho, y'all, that's all I really wanted to say. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on YouTube, Instagram, Stereo, and Twitter at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, if you are a prophet, you better eat your Wheaties. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.